I'm gonna skip a lot of the details of the relationship because we gotta save some for the book, you know. We gotta detail it because I remember everything, because during the years, the one thing I had to cope with was writing. I had started a book which I was gonna name The Heart of the Lonely, but something about it, just being a new mother and everything, I was always too busy to continue writing. But I have details of time, dates, moments. I have messages that had gone back and forth. So me now, as a new mom, in my immature brain, I thought that having a baby was gonna bring us closer somehow. I thought that he would look at me as special because we had this gorgeous baby. And mind you, at no point in our relationship of being parents was he bad to my daughter. This is the one thing I loved about him. He was always attentive to her. He would, when he would be on the computer watching his videos, he would hold her. You know, he was there. So this video is no disrespect to his parenting while we were together. Now, a lot of things changed after that, but I thought that having his baby would make me feel special. At this point in my life, I would justify anything to give me a reason to be there. I remember so many fights happened physically before my daughter turned 1. Like, before she could even understand what was going on, there was so much drama in our lives that there was no slowing down from that. I remember so well, one time my daughter was 8 months old, and he comes to tell me, I was cooking in the kitchen. He walked around the house so angry the whole day, like so furious, and he was picking at me for different things, and I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong because for some strange reason I was always doing something wrong. And mind you, at this point, I used to have a sharp mouth before the physical abuse started. But after the physical abuse started, I was always so scared, so I would be very mindful what I say, when I said it, how I said it. You know, I had to calculate every little bit of everything. The only times that I would get to my boiling point, you know, I'll get to my boiling point and just say, fuck it, hit me if you want. I don't even care, because you're gonna hear what I have to say. He did it in such a way that I lost my voice completely. There was no talking to him about anything. He was intentionally doing things that he knew I wouldn't say anything about because he would react. So yeah, I learned to shut up. My OCD started during this relationship because instead of me confronting him on a lot of things I should have, excuse me, I would mop the house like crazy, sometimes 3-4 times a day. I would exhaust myself so much because I knew I couldn't talk to him, so there was no point even confronting him. And this is in a space of 11 years, so we were together for 11 years. So yeah, that's where the mopping, the craziness started from. And with time now, I have learned to just slow down, you know, just go back to normal and feel okay again. So when my daughter was 8 months old, mind you, he has always denied every affair, everything I had brought his way, he would deny it. And when she was 8 months old, I was cooking and he was acting very strange. And he finally says, we need to talk. As soon as he said we need to talk, I freaked out. I started thinking, is he breaking up with me? What is going on? I mean, I just have this new baby. I thought about everything. And then he starts with, oh, I have to tell you something. how he met this girl, blah 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 blah. See, as soon as I heard girl, I knew we were talking about pregnancy. I just knew it, you know. And then I started thinking, oh, maybe she filmed them and she's trying to blackmail him with it. But he told me he got this girl pregnant. This is someone who never cheated on me, you know. He got this girl pregnant, and my first instinct was, how pregnant is she? Because in my mind at that moment, I was just trying to clear out anything that could jeopardize my relationship with him. So if it was a few weeks old pregnancy, we'd be sure as hell gonna take it out. We were not having that baby. But turns out the girl was 8.5 months pregnant. I asked him, how long has he known about it? He said, few days. I said, okay, no problem. I asked him, so what does he plan to do? He said he doesn't know that he loves me and he wants to be with me, and that was just a mistake. It was a one-time thing. It happened, yada, 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 yada. I said, okay, so I spoke to the girl. I asked him to call the girl and let me find out what she wants. She went on the phone of how she comes from a good family and blase, blase, blase. And I asked her what she wanted. And she said she doesn't want anything. You know, she just wanted me to know that she was pregnant, you know, but she doesn't want anything for him. I said, fine. Of course, we went for the next few weeks screaming at each other. You know, it was bad. But at this point, he wasn't aggressive, he wasn't violent, because he knew he fucked up. He knew he was caught, so he couldn't just, you know, he had to let me win this one. The day the baby was born, this girl decides to flood his phone with photos. Ooh, didn't he get photos? He got all kinds of baby photos, you know. She tried to guilt trip him, make him feel bad. And later when I found out, a few weeks later, because he told me he didn't want to have anything to do with them, and I thought it was just best for me, because how are we gonna do this thing, you know? So a few weeks later, I found out that not only did he know about the pregnancy, he knew from the beginning. The day I was giving birth to my daughter in the hospital, and before we got to the hospital, he was actually with this same girl on the ground. They went partying together that night. And after I gave birth, I thought he was fixing the party for me to come back home, but he was actually with her, and he was with her for months. So she got pregnant and he knew about it. He was with her actually a whole year before, like literally from the beginning of my pregnancy till this whole time they were together. And I didn't even know. It was later on I found out, because most of the photos I had seen on his computer, mind you, he's a photographer. Most of the photos I had seen on his computer were with her. Half naked from the back, hat photos, you know, there were different things, but he always told me she was a model, so I took his word for it. It was after I started seeing, mind you, one of the ladies who were sending me messages on my email was her, with a different account, literally describing the relationship which she had with him. So basically, at the times when he was with me, when I wasn't fighting with him, he was good, and she would be going through her own heartbreak, you know. He told her, he made this girl believe that he was in love with her. He made this girl believe that I was a bad person, and he was only staying with me because I had gotten pregnant. You know, he told her all kinds of stories. So these are things I found out later. So when she started writing to me, she was so vicious towards me, because in a way, I was taking away her peace of mind. So she thought that having her baby too, because since he's using the baby as an excuse not to be with her, she thought that having her baby would actually keep him, you know. And guess what? She had a boy. So his mother was so happy with this. She was very happy. You see, my daughter never got gifts from her grandmother. Every time I would ask why, because he already had a previous daughter, which should have been a red flag for me. But like I said, I'm a single parent now, so I can't blame you for being a single parent. You know, situations do come up. You know, now I know this, but back then, I shouldn't have involved myself there. I would always ask, why is my daughter not getting gifts? And the mother would tell me how, because I was financially stable, she didn't think it was necessary for her to do those things. She needed to help the other ones, the other two, because they were not doing as good as me. Because I had my house, I was comfortable, we were eating like kings and queens, you know, so she didn't think it was necessary. And that always hurt me, because no matter what I have, that's your grandchild, that's your grandbaby. But hey, I went with it. Mind you, during this time, at the beginning of me knowing his mother, we were okay, we had a good relationship. But as time went on, and every time he would cheat and do something, I would try to talk to her, so that because they had a good bond, I wanted her to help me talk to him. But guess what? She always had something to say. I remember there were many times we got into arguments, and she would say I was disrespectful, and I would be pissed, because sometimes I would really be pissed, you know, because she wasn't doing anything. She tried to always make me understand, but you know, he had a tough life, you know this, you know that, and I'm like, no, I don't know anything at this point, you know. Why is he so ungrateful? Why is he not grateful that I'm there and helping? So me and his mother, many times we got on bad terms, you know. It was a lot. So me thinking I am this special person, after I found out about the baby, I found out so many things, so many things. First of all, the girl didn't stop sending photos. She would call all the time. He would act as if he didn't care, he wasn't replying. So I'm like, oh, okay. But with time, I started feeling guilty. I'm like, listen, no matter what happens in life, a new child, a new baby is not to blame for anything. They have nothing to do with what two people decide to do together. So I had a conversation with him. I said, listen, I don't want this little boy to be without a father. I would have that on my conscience forever, and I don't want that. As much as I want you to be a father to my daughter, I understand that he needs a father also. Although the boy stayed in a different city, you know, so I took it upon myself, which he was so happy about. All this time, mind you, I thought they were not in contact, but that was a big lie, because they were very, very much in contact. You know, I remember one day I had come back from Nigeria, and I was celebrating with him and everything, and my daughter goes to one of his phones, and she was clicking on the photo, you know, and she was zooming it, but she was so little, so I picked up the phone like, what are you doing? When I looked at the photo, there were photos of his third baby mama, naked, masturbating, doing all kinds of things in the photos. Then there were a series of them. And of course, when I asked him about it, he's like, first of all, for you to get those photos, you had to have downloaded them, and then you saved them into your phone. So all the stories, it was just a complicated period. But anyway, me, I did what I thought was best. I accepted the child. He came to, I remember the first time we met, he was so uncomfortable, because I'm sure his mother had put a lot of things in his ear. And I think he was 2 and Onis was 3. I'm not sure. I will go look for pictures. She had put things in his head, because even when he walked in my house, I would ask him if he wanted to drink something, and he would say no. He would reject everything. But guess what? How amazing God is. Every time he came after that, he would literally cry that he didn't want to go back home, because this girl, she thought that having a baby would be the easiest thing. She thought she was going to get the guy, and apparently she didn't get the guy. So she would work in Bucharest, and her kid would be with her parents in the countryside. So he seen the way I moved with my daughter and having his father around, he was happy, you know. My baby daddy was very uncomfortable that period, because he didn't know how to manage the situation. It was, no joke, it was awkward, you know. you have baby mama 2 and baby mama 3 in the same place. It's weird. Like, we all know what's up. I remember I even told the girl one time that this is so weird for me, this is so uncomfortable for me, and she looked at me and said, why should it be uncomfortable? And I looked at her like, are you crazy? First of all, you come into my relationship, you messed things up with him, and now you have a baby, I have a baby, and it's, anyway. I used to think that me being a baby mama would make me special, but guess what? It only made things worse. You see, now the physical became constant, because he knew at this point that I wasn't going anywhere. I loved him so much, and he knew how much I wanted my daughter to have a father. I fought for this one because he was very good with her. So I wanted my perfect happy family, and he knew this. I can't remember if I go back to my notes, because literally every fight we had, I wrote it down. I wrote pages and pages of what happened, dates, time, but sometimes I don't remember what the fights were about, but also cheating, mostly cheating, some more cheating. He never stopped. It was later on in life I understood why maybe he would do half of what he was doing. So there was this particular day, I don't remember why we were fighting, but all I remember is he choking me again. And then we had this wallpaper which was kind of stony, sandy, and was very rough, and he would just scream at me and bang my head. He would literally be with his hand here. Like, when I say I couldn't breathe, so I'm not talking about some fake, I'm talking about here. His nails would be in my neck, and he would bang and bang and bang my head over and over and over again on the wall. I was always wrong. There was nothing. If he made a mistake, I was the wrong one. No matter what I said or did, I was always the wrong one. I remember in that second, I could hear like the whole of my daughter's little age, her small age, all she heard was screaming, crying, shouting. Scream, cry, shout, trouble, things breaking. And mind you, every time we had a fight, he would break something. I was financially providing everything, but he would break things. He would try to throw his phone at me and smash it on the wall. In the period of 11 years, I bought him 6 computers. 6. He has had every phone from iPhone 3 to iPhone 3 Plus, 4, 4 Plus, 5, 5 Plus, 6, 6 Plus, 7, 8, I don't remember 9. He had all of them. He lost most of them. He broke most of them. He didn't have no value for what I was doing. And I, on the other hand, I used to go back and forth to Nigeria to work, and he used to get so angry. Like, oh, I don't even know what you're doing there. You might be fucking somebody, excuse my French. He used to use those words. You might be doing something with someone. You know, he didn't know, you know, and no matter how I tried to explain, he would always say I was lying. Mind you, I had a lot of admirers. I had people who were willing to change my life. I had people who had listened to part of my story and just wanted to help me. But still, I loved him. I remember somebody offered me once, they said, why are you going through this with him? You want to study interior design, because I had finished business administration. You want to study interior design? Let me take you. I have a house in Manhattan. You can stay there, we'll get you a babysitter, you go to school, become something of yourself. And I said, no. I said no because I loved him. He was my everything. At this point, I didn't know the difference between reality and madness. Everything felt the same. There was no difference. It was one big happy mess. So that day when he was banging my head on the wall, boom, boom, I could feel this hot air, like, you know when you're having malaria and your body is in chills and you're hot at the same time. I could feel the heat coming out of me. And I kept saying, my daughter was in the back crying and screaming. All my neighbors used to hear us all the time. I remember the moment he let go of my neck. The moment he let go of my neck, with the rage I had in me, I just gave him, like, I don't know where I had the energy from. That was the first time I hit him. I remember I swung with everything in me, and mind you, I'm left-handed. My left hand is extremely strong. I don't wish for anyone to be in the middle of this. I swung at him so hard that his face was like this for at least 2 weeks. And even till, like, after, we would make jokes and he would tell me, man, you have a mean left hook, man. Like, you got in there. And I was so happy with myself, but that made him back off a bit that day. There were days he would go out and come back so drunk, and he would pee all over the carpet. He would literally wake up in the night and pee all over the carpet because he couldn't find his way to the bathroom. He thought his boots were the toilet. He thought the garbage can was the toilet. He thought the microfiber couch was the toilet. And mind you, I couldn't get angry with him because he would yell at me of how I don't allow him to be a man. Well, women don't pee in boots. He had just bought those damn boots too. I was so happy actually, but I was pissed because I had to scrub the damn carpet now. The worst part of being with him was the fact that I couldn't go out with him. I couldn't go out with him because he did not want anyone to look at me. Every time we went out, and you know how you would dress nice, you would go out and people would admire you because I'm a gorgeous woman, I ain't gonna lie. But he would get furious. There is no night we went out that we didn't start. You know when you go to the club with your man and you're so lovey-dovey, kissing, hugging, all those things, and we would start off like that, and before the end of the night, we will be screaming cats and dogs, or he'll be trying to punch a guy. He has literally, almost every time we went out, he was in a physical fight with somebody that looked at me the wrong way. He said he was defending my honor. He slowly, with time, started cutting. Like, it's so funny, he would fight with a guy. I would be out with my short dress and my high heels, and he would fight with the guy and get angry with me for not stepping in. Now, I am a female. I don't throw punches except I need to. And you're drunk and you're acting stupid, so why should I get my face beat up because of you? So every time we would have those arguments and he would have a physical fight with literal strangers in the street, every time we got home, guess who is getting the beating? I was getting the beating. And my daughter was always there for each one of them. She saw every one of them. My mom tried to step in many times, but I didn't want her to hurt him. I didn't want her to call the police. How many times she told me she was going to call the police? I said, leave him, you know, I love him. Because I have this thing, I might be angry today, but I would feel bad. So I didn't want to have that on my conscience. So I let it go. My sister, T-Boss, tried to step in so many times. Like, she ain't even got no cool. Like, so many times she would try to talk to him, but of course, I with my big head. And that was the biggest mistake I made. Because that only gave him more power, because he realized that nothing was ever gonna happen to him. There were no consequences to anything. He didn't go to jail, he didn't get punished. And guess what? Even when we were fighting and I was out of town, I would ask my mother to cook him food so he doesn't go hungry. That was me. That was the kind of girlfriend I was. Twice, my daughter got in the middle of fights. Once she was 3, and once she was a little bit smaller than 3. I remember they were arguing. His friend was over at the house and they were arguing about something. Apparently they were talking about a girl from before, but I didn't know. I was cooking and I served. And somehow he got angry with me because he had screamed at Onis. And I didn't understand where that anger was coming from because she didn't even do anything wrong. So he tries to take a tripod to swing at me, and because she's always trying to protect me, she got in the way, so her head got hit. Instantly, boom, instant swelling. That was the first time he hit her by mistake. He didn't mean to hit her, he was heading for me. So a tripod is the thing you put your cameras on or your lights on. That was what he was trying to swing at me in front of his friend. And when his friend tried to step in to defend me, like, bro, what are you doing? The guy got kicked out and beat up and got kicked. His shoes were thrown in the snow because it was winter. So I laugh now, but it wasn't funny back then. And all I kept remembering in my head was, oh my God, I wish this guy, and he was Nigerian. I wish this guy was just a little bit bigger because he was very slim. So I'm like, God, please beat him up or something. But my guy was stronger. I remember after he had kicked the guy out of the house, he pounced on me. He broke the table, cracked the wall, broke a lot of things. He said it was my fault that he hit his daughter. My fault. The second time he hit my daughter, I remember that night he had gone out, gotten drunk, came back. So basically what he started doing was every time he wanted to cheat, he would pick up a fight with me. Every time he would be on Facebook chatting up a girl and they would make up date, he would pounce on me. I swear this life is funny. The kind of things you allow yourself go through, all in the name of love. The kind of things you allow yourself go through just because you feel like you can't get better. It became such a routine that every time he wanted to cheat, he would pick a fight with me. The fights got so bad that every time I would kick him out the house, he didn't have anywhere to stay. And because I loved him, I started paying for his rent. I paid for his rent for, I think, 4 years or 4.5 years. And in that time, he would pretend to fight with me or find an argument with me for some strange reason. He would go over to the other house. He even had his second baby mama there. They were literally living together there. And I remember when they broke up and we got back together and something happened, I remember going to clean because I said, listen, we can turn this house into a studio, and if you see how dirty it was, I could not believe it. I'm like, you left this to go to that? The toilets were filthy. There was hair everywhere in the house. There was old oil stains on the wall. I remember I scrubbed that house for hours to get it to my standards because at this point I had created an OCD for cleaning, so I liked everything sparkling. And I never could understand it. I'm like, how do you know, when you find out a man cheats on you, it kind of takes something away from you. You start to question yourself, am I good enough? Like, was she better than me? What did she do different? What did she do? You know, and as time went on, every time he picked a fight with me and he decided to go chill at the other house, every time he came back, the sex was different. The sex was different every single time. He didn't even, at a point I stopped even caring to ask because I knew it was either a punch or he started doing something that was even worse than the physical, which was the emotional part. He would abuse me. He would call me stupid, useless, whore, bitch, can't have heard. He would tell me how if I leave him, I would never find anything better than him. He would tell me how men would just F me and dump me because that's all I'm worth. He would use past traumas I've had from the past he would use those against me. He would say I deserve those things. He knew I didn't have a good relationship with my father back then, so he would tell me how this is why my father didn't love me, because I was this horrible person. He used everything. He told me I would never be anything. He made me feel like I was a waste of space. My mom used to ask me, she said, how do you do it though? How do you allow a man beat you up? I told her, Mommy, the beating will pass. Hold on guys, I gotta move. It was not the beating. At this point I was so used to it, it didn't even matter. It was the emotional abuse that kept ringing and ringing in my head, and every time I tried to walk away, I couldn't, because he had made me feel so small. It's so funny that a man that never contributed 1 naira to my livelihood managed to make me feel so small. I never asked him to go get a job anymore. I was scared to even mention that. I had to stress about financial all the time, because he also had a very expensive habit. Mind you, this is someone who came into my life with 1 suitcase. By the time he left my life, he didn't have enough boxes to pack. He liked Gucci and Louis Vuitton and Marcelo Ballon. I think I invested over 30,000 euros in just shoes and clothes. Let's not talk about how many cameras I invested in, which he would use them to take pictures of girls. I had a cupcake business. I was doing a cupcake business from home and I loved it. And he would encourage me at first to do good, like, you got this, you know, and I would feel like a superhero. And then he would slowly break it down, because he said I didn't have enough time for him. But at this time, I'm just trying to provide for our family. I started noticing that his encouragement turned into resentment. He started literally hating me for being able to find a way. I'll always find a way. Even if I have to sell water to the ocean, I'll always find a way. I shut down my cupcake business. I used the money from my cupcake business to invest in a clothing brand for him, because I wanted him to feel like a man, to feel like he was adding something, because he would always blame me for everything. I wanted him to feel, I thought that if he had his own business, he would feel stronger. Guess what? I had to do equally as much work. I remember when my sense came to my head a bit, and he would say, I told him to give me a percentage out of the brand, because I'm investing all the money into it. You know, I don't want to wake up one day and you disappear with some random girl and I end up with nothing. And he fought me on this. He didn't want to do it. He said I didn't trust him enough and I should let things be. The brand went well for a while, but I never saw 1 dime from that brand. I ended up over investing into the brand, always having new merchandise, never got any returns, because he said he needed to sort himself out. At this point, I had stopped paying for his rent at the other place. It was already like 4 years and something. I was done. So he would use the money from there. He would pay his rent, do other things. And mind you, I'm still the full sole provider for my daughter. Nothing I did was ever good enough. There's so many parts I don't even remember because I have blanked them out. But I remember that all this time I kept asking myself, what are you doing? It's like my brain knew what was right and what was wrong, but my heart just was weak, I guess. Things got so bad. My neighbor will always come and talk to me. There was a lady, she would come and talk to me and ask me what's going on, like, why don't I call the police, blah, blah, blah. And I said I couldn't. And there was one night he was screaming at me for hours. My neighbor finally got the courage to come to the door because everyone was afraid of him. He screamed so loud, like down the road you could hear him. Everyone knew what was going on. She came, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and she came to the door, and he went to open the door. And she tried to plead with him to just please stop, that there's a better way, blah, 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 blah. First of all, by the time he was done screaming at her, she was out of it. She ran away so fast because she wasn't even ready for all of that. And I remember praying to God, like, please just call the police, like, please just call the police. And I remember sitting by the window in my bedroom, and he just came and punched me so hard. He punched me so hard that it broke my tooth in the back. He said, look what I'm doing. Because of me, I am making him scream. So look what's happening. The neighbors are coming. It was always my fault. I remember one time he woke me out of my sleep with a bucket of water. And mind you, my daughter was sleeping right next to me. He splashed both of us up to wake us up. I don't even know what we were fighting about at that point. He went from hours. He was so drunk. And that was the time he tried to punch me for the second time, and he hit my daughter because she was in the middle crying, saying, Daddy, please don't. She was trying. And I remember that day before he actually tried to hit me, he had slapped me a few times, and I would hold his hand, begging him to stop for hours, to the point that and I think this is why I have these problems with my fingers now. I think too much strain. I would stay for hours holding his hands, like, because it's so funny, I never saw the slap come. I would be looking at him trying to mark where those slaps were coming from, but I never could see them coming. So I would hold his hand and he would let go, stupid bitch, let go. I couldn't. And every second my fingers would get tired of grabbing, boom, another one came. So that day I saw him raging. He was charging up towards me, and my daughter saw that because she woke up and she's always crying. So he tried to punch me. He kept telling her to move away. And she was too scared. She wanted to protect her mother. And he tried to punch me, and he punched her head again. And that was the second time she bruised up. Right? Yeah, I was just done, man. I was done. I hit him so hard, and I didn't stop hitting him. At this point, it was either me or him. I hit him so many times. And of course he calmed down, he started crying, he started like, oh my God, look what he did again, look what he did, because he never played with his daughter. He always targeted his anger towards me, so he hitting her again was too much for him. And he would cry, and he would be on the ground, he would be so like, what am I doing? And guess what? In the next few minutes, he's rolling up again, he's ready for round 2, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was always constantly, one time he's calm, the next time he's back again. Then it's calm, then it's back again. And I knew. I remember one time, he was fighting me for 7 hours. 7 hours. Because I put too much salt in the food. Because of stress, if you look back at my photos, I was always a stick. I was skinny. And I didn't even realize I was depressed. I just thought that's how relationships should be. You know, you fight for the people you love. So I didn't know, there was nobody to make me understand that that's not normal. He was fighting me for hours. He finished a whole bottle of whiskey in less than an hour. He was, I'm like, oh God. I would be looking at him. I would be cleaning in the kitchen that day. I was cleaning because I'm like, Wendy, don't say anything to him. He's already angry, he's drunk, don't mess with him. I'll be cleaning. He will come to me, you stupid bitch. Stop cleaning when I'm talking to you. I'll stop cleaning. Then he would I would keep my head down because it was annoying him for me to look at him. So I'll put my head down, and he would slap me and say, look at me when I'm talking to you. And when I look at him, but at this point I'm crying, and then he would start picking at my tears, like, what are you crying for? What are you crying for? You're a hypocrite. You're a liar. You're this. You always act as if because I didn't catch you doing something, you didn't do anything. When I love a person, I don't care who comes around. I love you. I love you. And I stay with you. True, bad, and good, I stay. I don't do that shit no more. I can tell you that. You fuck up with me, I'm out the door. I ain't got time for that. 7 hours. Pick your head back up. I would stay like this, because when I look at him, he would say I have devil eyes. Then he would knock my head back for me to put my head down. And I put my head back down. And when he was feeling like he wasn't getting across to me, he would knock my head back up. Like, look at me when I'm talking to you. We did this for 7 hours. I had to go back and forth to my daughter to put her to sleep, because she's like, mommy, 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 mommy. And I'm like, don't worry, it's okay, he will soon calm down. This was our life. He will soon calm down. But his ass didn't calm down. He called me all kinds of names. His favorite one was a whore. That was his favorite word to use for me. And it used to bring so much tears to my eyes, because I'm like, I wish I was a fucking whore, you know, I wish, because now I'm getting these insults and it's not rhyming in my head. That night I think that was the last night I was done. I remember, because he kept telling me, he had this habit of every time I wanted to break up with him, he would pull a knife even in front of my mother. My mother was in the house one day and he pulled a knife at me. He had this habit of, whenever he would be really drunk and angry, he would bring out a knife and threaten to kill himself if we left him. He said he cannot imagine life without us, so he was going to kill himself. So every time I tried to leave, he would emotionally blackmail me with something else. So I would be freaking out on, oh my God, what if he kills himself? What if he dies? What if he, I didn't want that on my conscience. Or he would say that, listen, if you leave me, that he doesn't want to see no motherfucker around, no men were allowed, and he would kill us and then kill himself. It was always something about death. So that night, I had got to the max. I looked at him with so much anger. At this point, all I wanted to do was sleep. I just wanted to sleep. I just wanted it to be over. I picked up a butcher knife from the kitchen, because in this few moments, I thought I lost my mind. I think I went temporarily insane. I picked up the empty bottle of whiskey, and I picked up a butcher knife. And when he saw me, he looked at me, he's like, what are you doing? At this point, the devil eyes he said I had were real devil eyes. It was me or him at this point, because one thing I knew for a fact is, if you don't shut the fuck up at any moment now, because I want to sleep, one of us going down. I looked at him and I asked him to take his pick. He said, what am I talking about? I said, you have the choice between the butcher knife and this bottle of whiskey, because since you've been saying you'll kill me, let's do this thing now. At this point, I had completely lost my goddamn mind. At this point, somebody was dying, and I was hoping enough, because all that time he was shouting, I was just patiently pacing myself, because I had gotten to my limit. I was done with that. I said, pick one of these and make sure you pick well, and make sure you swing. See, I knew he was already drunk. He was hitting me. I had lost my mind. I calculated, if he picks the whiskey bottle and tries to hit me, I will stab him. And if he picks the knife and tries to stab me, I would knock his head out. By this time, you're already too intoxicated to. This is what was going through my mind. When he saw how serious I was, he said, he backed off fast. Like, yo, squats? He backed up very fast, because he knew one of us was dying that night. One of us was dying that night. And I had to make sure it wasn't me, because I was the one financially taking care of my daughter, so I wasn't going to allow that. He backed up real fast. and looked at me and said, "Bitch, you crazy," and said, "I'm out of here." And he left. He went to the other house. First of all, it took me another 2 more hours to calm down, because at this point, I was seeing death, black, black, black. I couldn't see anything else. I couldn't see anything else.